Good morning, and first I want to thank my co-sponsor, Assemblymember Sarah Clark, for joining me today, and also Joan, who Hearhart, Director of Public Policy and Advocacy with the New York State Coalition Against Domestic Violence, also known as NISCADIV. We are here today to call attention to a very important issue that impacts many communities across our state, and that is the issue of domestic violence. We know that in a state like ours, we continue to make advancements when it comes to legislation and resources to support victims and survivors. However, at the same time, we know that there's more work to be done. And so I'm here today with my colleagues to lift up a bill that we are pushing for. And this bill would establish a statewide resource with respect to lethality assessments. So, lethality assessments are a life saving tool that law enforcement entities can utilize that helps to ensure that victims of domestic violence are empowered with resources to stay safe and to help lessen the danger to their health and safety. Currently, law enforcement officers are required to complete what's called a domestic incident report, or DIR, which includes information about the victim, the alleged offender, and the details of the incident. This report must be completed regardless of whether an arrest is made. The DIR includes 4 questions about current and prior threats, physical abuse, and the accused access to guns and weapons to assess the defendant's risk for future violence. What our bill would do is that it would require law enforcement to include a lethality assessment with the DIR when responding to domestic violence incidents. The lethality assessment component involves asking the victim a series of questions about their experiences and the behavior of the alleged offender to assess the risk of future violence. The questions cover topics such as use of weapons, threats to kill, strangling or choking, possession of firearms, and other concerning behaviors. One of the other benefits with the lethality assessment is that once it is completed, the officer must advise the victim of the results and refer them to local domestic violence programs for support. The officer must also provide the victim with the number to the New York State Domestic and Sexual Violence Hotline. And also, based on the assessment, the officer can file for an extreme risk protection order if there is credible information suggesting likelihood of serious harm. One of the other benefits with this tool is that it is focused on prevention. And according to a report that was published in the Journal of Economic Behavior and Organization, lethality assessments work to reduce female homicides committed by men by 40%. Risk awareness and safety planning is provided to the most at-risk victims. Victims take self-protective action that help them to escape fatal incidents. The biggest reduction is in the homicide of girlfriends, and homicide is the second leading cause of death for African American women between the ages of 15 and 34, and the fourth leading cause of death for all women. Approximately 1,000 female homicides happen every year and are linked to intimate partners. These lethality assessments, again, help to prevent and lower the likelihood of fatal incidents by taking on these prevention methods. We would be joining, once this bill is passed in both of our houses and ultimately signed into law by our governor, we would be joining other states in utilizing this tool. The state of Maryland started utilizing this tool back in 2005, and dozens of other states across the country utilized this tool. And most recently, Florida and Utah enacted laws to require these assessments. In our state, we have currently 3 counties that utilize lethality assessments: my home county of Broome, Dutchess County, and Westchester County. This issue impacts folks at every socioeconomic level with respect to domestic violence, and it is imperative that we continue to invest as a state to make sure that we are protecting victims and ultimately helping folks to survive and thrive, especially after these horrific experiences. I also, at this point, want to read a statement from one of our advocates who is supporting this measure, and they are all too familiar with the effects of domestic violence and the unfortunate loss of life that happens associated with it. And that is, and we all are familiar with the unfortunate tragedy that happened to Gabby Petito, who lost her life at a very young age in 2021 due to domestic violence from her partner. And we have a statement that I will read from her father, Joseph Petito, with regards to why this legislation is so important. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to join us today, but he did provide a statement. Our family wholeheartedly supports New York Senate Bill S-2280 and the mandate of creating a lethality assessment program to be used on all domestic violence calls. We strongly believe that its utilization could have potentially saved our daughter had it been used during her encounter in Moab, Utah. That video from her Moab police stop is being used in domestic violence training for police around the country. All too often, victims of domestic violence are unaware of the imminent danger they face or struggle to access available resources for safety planning to escape the violence. This bill is vital to enhancing the safety and protection of victims of domestic violence. This legislation not only strengthens law enforcement's ability to assess risk and respond effectively, but it also underscores the importance of prevention and support for those affected by domestic abuse. We believe that by advocating for stronger protections, we can create a safer environment for all individuals and honor the memory of Gabby Petito, whose story highlights the urgent need for these type of changes. Together, we can make a difference and ensure that no one has to endure the pain of domestic violence. And again, this is a statement from Joseph Petito, the father of Gabby Petito, who is a strong advocate for this bill. And so I want to now turn it over to my esteemed assembly sponsor of this bill, Assemblymember Sarah Clark, to share why this legislation is so important and why we need to sign it into law. Assemblymember Clark.